What is up, ladies and gents? In today's video, we will go over the drama that happened in Zeroth. For starters, Throne and Liberty at its core is a lot like Game of Thrones. It's a game that has a culture of PvP, PvE, community, politics, betrayal, scheming, plotting, and dominating strategically in a scale I haven't seen in other games. This has a direct relation of how involved you are in the game. If you casually play, you will never see this or even scratch the surface. If you are chronically online and in a leadership position, this is normal. Transferring servers, merging with guilds, underdogs, power positions, lucent drama, occent drama, PvP discourse, it's all a part of the game. Currently, the narrative floating around is that Rent-Free was unaware of the meeting that transpired, and this video is just to debunk that. The current video out is just your typical sensationalist yellow journalism for the memes, where even most of my guys had a laugh. Since the beginning of this game 3 weeks ago, I talked to Lukekk along with XNN since they both joined the server around the same time about potentially having a fair 8v8. When information like that gets around, it will always become information propaganda. What me and Lukekk started began a steamroll of players claiming that Rent-Free is zerging, and then the flip script of tankage is zerging to counter that and vice versa. That's why information usually stays at the top. Ultimately, I wanted to eliminate all of that by having everyone involved that was in the top 20 in a meeting for the next plan. Never in a million years did I think my own ally would record the conversation. Now, what the heck is zerging? Zerging is when there's a clear domination of one side over another because of the imbalance of numbers. You can see this even in Dominion events when red, blue, or green teams has a lot more numbers. Every server has a dominant guild. Example, Focus, Take Care, EPH, Tankage, Rent-Free, etc. Those are some examples of a power position. So what if you are not in a dominant guild? You will usually either get someone that's defending the castle or someone that's attacking the castle reach out to you to help participate in either castle defense or attacking. It's common to see pseudo alliances form or soft alliances. Big guilds will say, oh, we don't do that. Well, of course you don't, because you are the latter. Now, for the other alliances, they will always find a way that will benefit them, because if you are not in a 4-guild alliance, you are usually or mostly irrelevant for Siege. So with that information, what was the point of the meeting? The point was to see the opinions of the top 20 guilds involved in Siege. As for why Lukekk wasn't involved, I had already tried to get him inside, and even if he wasn't inside, I followed up with him to let him know my position, because like I said before, I do value transparency even though it bites me more than it actually helps. I know the next question is why wasn't Nisa or 9 to 5 present, and that's because my line of communication was with Lukekk. Now, why did I only talk to Lukekk? Because I was told by him that he is the alliance leader for his group. There are levels to transparency, and even then, it's delusional to assume that everyone will work together. Even with the teams we had previously suggested, deception is rampant in this game, and that's what makes it stand out and has its own influence on your ability to lead. As you can see, it wasn't Deimos that recorded the conversation, it wasn't Rebellion or anyone soft allied with Tankage, it was the apes that uploaded the video. Fun fact, that was my own alliance that uploaded the content, which blindsided me. For as long as I've played games online, usually first-person shooters switching to MMOs, I've never been recorded. I left that alliance because it just comes to further reinforce the point that unless you control all of your guilds or know your players, deception and distrust will always run rampant. Anything said on that meeting was supposed to be between the people there, and after is subject to how they convey the information afterward at an individual level. And I ultimately was just going to give Lukekk my answer on attacking or defending because he was already aware of the meeting taking place before it even happened. As a GM, you can decide what you want based off the pitches of both parties. I've asked Lukekk what he would prefer, and he told me I can do whichever. So ultimately, after the meeting, I have autonomy to decide for myself or what's best for my guild, contingent on how the alliance responds. So if they disagree with me and I disagree with that, we could part ways at that very moment. I will say, though, that if you find yourself at a point where you are recording players, then you're invested past the point where it's no longer even a game for you. It's a game for me, but for others, it's their way of life, so there will always be a difference in opinion. With the information out, no matter how it's spun, whether we attack or defend, it will always be conveyed as a secret mega zerg was being formed. So with that information, the only true narrative right now is that I will leave the server to leave it up to them to decide how to move forward. What was already there that had already previously existed as Alliance wasn't already a secret. The defending players has always remained the same. We already knew that Deimos and Rebellion along with Mischief was with Tankage's group, and Rent-Free has their own group along with whoever they choose to soft ally moving forward. Even as I left, players were asking me on who they should soft ally with, whether they should soft ally Tankage or they should soft ally Rent-Free. But since I'm no longer part of that server, it's not up to me. So if Tankage or Rent-Free wins, it ultimately depends on who is involved on siege day, and how good they are at diplomatic relations. Now that leads to my next point. No one wants to play the game fair. It is a privilege of the dominant guilds that can decide how they want to play, which is their right. Take my experience from KR. When EPH asked for a disband of the Blue Alliance in KR, our group had a huge power position where castle and bosses along with arc bosses were pretty much free if you were in the Blue Alliance. So why would we break apart a strong alliance for just a few? Would you? Despite your answer, we actually did break our alliance for the sake of competition, because if you know, PvP is dead if there's just one gig of Zerg. It kills the game and creates what I call standing PvP. In return to deal with the dissolve of the alliance, we promised them Sausage and Conquistador will be the only ones to fight at Castle Siege, and with the disbanded Blue Alliance, what do you think they did as a response? They picked up all their guilds, Synergy plus East Blue, along with others to create another Zerg, because that's just normal. They still lost because of the gear difference and knowledge, but that's just this game. That's literally what happens if you rip apart alliances. But kudos to them, because you have to have talent to be able to break apart an alliance. And it doesn't matter how they did it. It's the fact that they did do it and were able to achieve that. And that's why I say that you need to have a strong mental defense, because this is normal in these type of games. So don't fall for it. Now, why does it happen? Because self-interest and fear grows rapidly for many guilds if they lose their position that is favorable for them. People will always favor the higher chance in their heads of what they perceive as success, whether it be on the attacking side to push on siege day or the defending side. The epitome of activity will always be the first siege, and after that most players will cave to burnout. It is just to further reinforce my point that this game is just mental warfare. There's propaganda and all to win a castle that literally pays out 1,000 to 3,000 lucent depending on how many players are still on the game. So to understand your role and position to optimize for your guild or alliance's success is only natural. If you care only about PvP, pillages aren't exciting because you just want a PvP. You don't need it. If you care about titles, then castle's what you want. Regardless of everything, every guild has its own culture, dynamics, and rules, and I can safely say that my guilds will never engage in anything past sports competitive talk, unwarranted, nor have I seen Cannon's guilds do so either. And anyone caught doing so, or even remotely reaching that point, will be expelled. There's a level of competitive talk that goes beyond the norm. That's my final piece on this conversation, and moving forward, I'll go back to uploading videos on the game. As for the guild exploits, I'll share what I know about it the same way I reported the last exploit in KR that got patched. It's risky to showcase these exploits, but the last time I shared it in KR, it got patched immediately, faster than when I sent an email in. Why? Because a select group doesn't have access to it anymore. Instead, it just explodes into a festering hot mess that forces their hand to speed up the process. That's it for today's video, and hope you enjoyed the drama and liberty as much as I did. Stay blessed, folks. I'll see you next time.